Hey guys, it's Kip here from KDC Marketing. And in today's video, I want to talk about how you can optimize your website for responsive design inside of Wix Studio. So this is my Wix Studio website, and I want to make sure it looks good on all these different devices and breakpoints. So I have desktop, tablet, and mobile, and I want to make sure that it's optimized across all these devices. So one of the first things that you can do is use responsive AI. So if you're clicking on the section itself, you can click on this icon and it will go to work optimizing this section for you on all the different devices. And it works about 80% of the time. Usually it gets you about 80% of the way there. And you have to customize it a little bit. You want to make sure you're clicking on the section element and not something within the section itself. So if I click on this text element, for example, you won't see the responsive AI or even just the cell here. It doesn't show up. You have to click on the section itself, and then you'll see responsive AI. The next thing you want to look at are your site styles. So most often what happens is when you first do your Wix Studio website, and this one's all the way done, but the text is too small. So you have this paragraph text right here. It's way too small. You can hardly even read it. So you want to go over to your site styles here in the typography section. And one of the things I love to do is to turn off the scale text for these paragraph styles. So you just go into each style, you go in and you toggle this off, and then it will always be 18 pixels, whether it's on desktop, tablet, or mobile. It's going to always be the same. And pixels means that it's fixed. So it'll be a fixed size of 18 pixels. And you can do the same for each paragraph section. Now, in some of these other sections, you'll see that the scale text is enabled here, but I always put in a min text here for my headings. So if I go back to my desktop version, I have a font size and then I have a min font size so that it won't go any smaller than that. And that's how you make sure that everything is going to work across all the different breakpoints. And you don't have to go in and every single time you add a text element, go in and change the size. So if you do it here once in your site styles to begin with, then you should be good to go. And you won't have to do it every time you add a new heading or paragraph here from this section or even any other sections that you use on the website. So that's the second thing, is to make sure that your site styles are all set up correctly. The third thing is to use the wireframe elements. So over here in the add elements section, you can find the wireframes, and they have different types of wireframes here. And these are already optimized for all the devices. So if you were to add a new section, I'll go ahead and show you one. Let's do a card. So they have a bunch of different sections in here, like this one. I just click it and it's going to add. And if I go to tablet, it's already going to be optimized. Mobile, already going to be optimized. So these ones are great, and you can customize them from here. You don't have to use the wireframe as it is. You can put in your images, you can customize the text, you can delete elements. If I don't want this button, I just go ahead and remove it. And that's another way that you can save time if you don't want to mess with getting things to look good on all devices. Just find something that's close enough in the wireframes and then customize it to your liking. And they have quite a few options to choose from here in each of these different sections. So you can click around and find something that you need. They even have footers here, so you can find some really good sections that you can use. The fourth thing that you can do to optimize your website is to save your sections as assets. So if I go to my section here, again, I have to click the section element and it'll show up here in this blue. If I right click it, I can save this as an asset. So I just have to right click and go down and it will say save as asset here. I think I can also find it if I click on the section 3 dots here, save as asset. So if I save this as an asset, I'll name it and then I can save it to one of my libraries. So let me just show you some that I've already saved. I'm not going to save this one, but if I go in here to add elements and go to assets, then I can find one of my libraries. So if I go into KDC Marketing, I can find save sections that I have that I can just drop into my website. So I'm going to go to this one. Maybe there's different sections in here that I really like, and I'm going to go ahead and just use one of these. And you can have different libraries. You can see I have lots of different libraries here that I can use, and these are already pre-built sections that are already optimized for all the devices. So one thing that's kind of cool about assets is you can save the entire section And sometimes, depending on the element, you can save the element. So let's say I wanted to save this button. I can save just the button as an asset. Or if I wanted to save some text, I believe I can save the text as an asset. Or if I want to save this image as an asset, I believe I can do that as well. So you can save individual elements, and you can save entire sections as assets, so that you don't have to recreate them every time you want to go in and build a new section. So that's the fourth tip. And the fifth and final tip is just to learn how the platform works. One of the most common things that happens is you have columns here. So you have a section grid with the layout as columns in the layout section in the design panel. If you go to mobile, you're going to see that that changes to rows. And that's because they have to be stacked on top of each other for mobile, whereas on desktop, there's enough space for them to be columns. This is something that's really common. So if I wanted to adjust this manually, I could go in here and change this layout to columns. It's going to mess up my design, so I'm going to undo that. But that's something you might have to do manually, and to get in here and understand these different parts of the design panel so that you can customize it on different breakpoints if you need to. And this one's just going to come with time. This is one that's really common, is the layout, to get it right. There's others that are kind of common that come up that, hey, my layout isn't working. Why is it not working? And you get to understand which things really drive the design. But that just takes a lot of practice and time, and then eventually you'll understand it. Because if you understand the mechanics behind the design panel, then you can customize this however you want. And you could create really different experiences between different breakpoints, between different devices, once you have a good handle and mastery on the platform. So make sure that you spend the time to learn those things. And one of the ways that I like to learn it is just to use responsive AI at the beginning and then see how it changed the section. So I'll go in here to the section, click responsive AI, and then go in and see, how did this actually show up on mobile? What changed in the design panel? What did responsive AI do? Because all it's really doing is configuring the settings as if it were you doing it. And so you can go in and change those after the fact, and you can go in and add your own customizations to it. But it can be a good way to learn how it was changed from this breakpoint here on desktop to mobile, so that you get it to look correctly. And another place to check is the layout. I think it's called, it might be called position. No, it's in layout here, down here, where you're getting into padding. Sometimes you have docking and margins here too, depending on which element you're looking at. So this one has docking. So position is an important one. Layout's an important one. And again, those things come with time. So those are the 5 tips for responsive design. So use responsive AI. Make sure you click at the section level. Configure your site styles here in the typography, and turn off the scale text for these last 3 paragraphs. And then make sure you set the min-max for these ones for your headings. Then use the wireframe elements as much as you can. These are already optimized for all devices. Save any section that you have completed as assets, so you can reuse these whenever you want, and you don't have to start from scratch. And with these in particular, if it's close enough, then you can just customize it a little bit from there. And then the last and final tip is just to learn the platform, learn what makes these elements and mechanics work on the design panel, so that you can customize this however you want to. So if you found this video helpful, responsive design is one of the biggest issues that people face when they're inside a Wix Studio for the first time. They can get it looking okay here, but then once they get to tablet and mobile, it just looks like garbage. And that's how you fix those things. You do those 5 tips. And then if you do that last and final tip, the 5th tip, which is to master the platform, then eventually you can do whatever you want across all the different breakpoints. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I will see you in the next video.